If y'all take a look at the animals, you can actually tell that the animals have grass belly. They're swelling up real big. And I actually have an animal that's bloating very badly. And I actually separated her and I put her in the preconditioning pen. So I saw her bloating very badly. She's been bloating for about 2 days now. And I went ahead and I pulled her off into the preconditioning pen to be, I'm going to put her in the preconditioning pen. And I've taken a look at, everything. I'll be liquidating animals next week. I'll be liquidating animals here in about 2 days. Yesterday I got in contact with the lease of the lease owner of the property owner of the lease, and he said I'm good to go. I can get started this weekend. And so tomorrow morning I'm actually going to go and buy myself fertilizer for the new field. I'm gonna start taking these animals over to the new field. I got animals going to the new field. I got animals that need to be liquidated. I'm probably gonna be growing a lot of grass within the next inside of the next 3 months. I'll be growing a lot of grass. The animals already have grass belly. If you take a look at them and you can actually see that their gut is swelling up, right? And so I was talking about this yesterday, but I figured I would go into more detail about this whole idea, because at the end of the day I need to pay myself, right? I need to pay myself at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month or whatever it may be, whenever it may be. I need to determine how much money am I going to pay myself. And I'm going to go over this whole thing again about the idea of cash and the idea of income, and what do I do with the money, and when I pay myself, how much do I pay myself, and but in terms of, let's not talk about it in terms of money. Let's talk about it in terms of things that I would like to get accomplished. And maybe this would make more sense. And I've been saying that my income is steadily going up every single month, and it's compounding growth, right? And I'm going to continue to compound this growth until I can't do it anymore. And if I can't do it anymore, I'll probably hire a veterinarian. I'll probably buy better equipment, and whatever it may be. As I go, I'll reinvest the capital, and I'll grow my business by reinvesting the capital. I've even decided that I'm going to pay a dividend out to landowners, right? If somebody leases me their land, I will pay them a dividend, right? I've decided that I'm going to do that as well. So let's take a look at the whole situation. What am I looking to get accomplished this next month? Well, this next month I need about 1.5 tons of urea. In terms of the overall business plan, I'm still looking to liquidate at about 650. I'm still looking to liquidate at 650. I'm not liquidating all of my animals at the same time, right? I still have, if I liquidate 7 animals, I'll still have I'll still have 25 left over, right? I'll still have 25. And so let's just take a look at it. Well, let's talk about it in terms of money, and then let's talk about it in terms of not money, right? Because it's all the same thing. Cash is not the only way to have money. If you legitimately believe that cash is the only way to have money, you're an idiot, you're poor, and you're probably going to die poor. There are a lot of ways to have money. And I've already said that, and I'll go over my personal finances, and maybe it will make more sense when I speak about this. So how much am I looking to pay myself? How much money do I believe that my business is going to make in terms of a monetary value, in terms of a dollar figure? All right, in terms of a dollar figure, and then we'll talk about it in terms of not dollar figures, because cash is not the only way to have money. Everything, it's all effectively the same thing. It's all effectively the same thing, granted that you understand what kind of asset you're buying. You have a reasonable idea for how you're going to appraise that asset, etc., etc. It's all the same thing. All right, so how much am I going to pay myself? Well, how much do I think my business is going to make? What do I reasonably anticipate my business is going to make? Well, my animals, I would say that the average weight of my herd right now is at about 400, 450, somewhere in that range, about 450. I'll be liquidating animals next month. I'll probably liquidate probably 4 animals, in the next week. And then over the next month, I'll liquidate about 7, and they'll all be going to market at about 650. That still leaves me with 25 animals. Those 25 animals are still going up in value. The equitable evaluation of my herd is actually increasing as well. How much cash do I think I'm going to generate? I would anticipate that this business makes about 20 grand. All right, I would say that I probably make about $20,000, and that number is actually going to increase. And how did I come up with that number? Well, in terms of the business plan as of right now, I am actually realizing gains. I've taken a look at the overall business plan, and I have decided that it is in my best interest to liquidate at 650. Right now, that is the number, that is the target market weight that I have effectively decided, right? I've taken a look at all of the different situations, and I've taken a look at all of these various factors, and I've decided that it is in my business's best interest for me to liquidate at 650. And so how many animals do I think I will have at 650 next month? About 7. Okay, so I take that money. That's hard. That's cash in my pocket. And then I have 25 animals left over. The 25 animals that I have left over, if I liquidate the 7 biggest ones off the top, are probably going to weigh somewhere around 400, right? The average weight of my herd will effectively always hover around 400, 500, something like that. And so, how much do I believe that the appreciation value of those 25 animals are? Probably another whatever, 6-7 grand, 6 grand, 7 grand, something like that. And it's very easy this month. March is going to be very easy in terms of taking a look at the finances, because I'm not going to be buying hardly anything. I mean, maybe I end up spending like $1,500, and I'm not taking any leverage. So all of the money that I make is mine. It's very easy to look at the finances for March. All right, it's very easy to look at the finances for March. It's very simple. It's not some like oh well, I have this much in leverage, and if I appreciate the animals and then I deduct the amount that I owe the bank, then it's nothing like that, right? I mean, it's very simple. The money that I make is effectively mine. And how much money do I think I'm going to make, and how much money am I going to pay myself? Well, I'll probably make about 20 grand, and I'll probably end up paying myself about 12 grand. Why am I going to pay myself 12 grand? Right? Why am I going to pay myself 12,000? Because realistically, what I want to do with the money, what I'm looking to accomplish with the money for the month of March, is to grow my business, buy a tonnage and a half of urea, and then, that's, and I have a couple $1,000s left over, right? How much am I looking to grow my business? Well, I've actually taken a look at my preconditioning pens, and I think that, I probably only end up bringing home 4 or 5 animals next week, because I still have a couple of animals that need to be preconditioned for a little bit longer. I'm taking a look at them. I still have a calf that is bloating very badly. I have that little, I have that tiny little rinky-dink calf. She's tiny, and, I don't really want to push her out back. I don't want to, have her fend for herself when she's 200 pounds, and I've taken a look at my preconditioning pens, and I don't really want to, empty out the preconditioning pens just yet. I actually want to keep, I'm actually looking to keep some of the animals in the preconditioning pens for a little bit longer. And so, I'll probably only end up bringing home about 5 animals next week, 4 animals, something like that next week. And so, I'm taking a look at the whole situation, and, because of my infrastructure, I can only precondition a certain amount of calves every so often. And and next week, if I bring home 5 calves and I sell 4 calves, and then the week after that, I take animals out of here, right, and I take them over to my lease properties, then I can empty up this this field as well, and then I can use this as a big preconditioning area, right? I can use it as another preconditioning area, and then I can increase the number of calves that I have then. And so, I'm taking a look at these different factors. What am I looking to do? How much am I looking to pay myself? How much money do I believe that the business is going to make? Why am I going to pay myself that much, right? It's not difficult, right? How much do I think it's going to cost me? Well, how many calves do I want to buy? How much money is my business just going to make? Right? I mean, it's not difficult, right? It's like, it's actually simpler than basic math. Well, I believe that my business is going to make 20 grand. Why do I believe that? Because in terms of the markets, in terms of the overall business plan, I'm going to be liquidating at 650. How many animals do I believe I will have at 650 next month? About 7. That leaves me with 25 animals. Those 25 animals are appreciating in value. How much do I believe that appreciation value is? What am I going to do with the, I'll probably just leave the excess money stored in the herd. Why would I do that? Because until I realize the gains, the money is not taxable, income taxable. The money is not taxable at all. There is legitimately 0 taxes. It's not just income taxes. All right, when you have unrealized gains, it is legitimately 0 taxes. 0, none. Goose egg. Sue me if you don't like it. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. Everybody has access to the same situation that I'm in. If you legitimately want to, if you legitimately, if you got yourself, really you focused yourself and you learned how to do this, you can learn how to do 90% of this. All right, when you appreciate assets and you don't realize the gains, it is called an unrealized gain, and there are legitimately zero taxes on it. Zero taxes. You don't like it, you can sue me. All right, I'm not breaking the law. All right, I'm not, it is what it is. You don't like it, deal with it. You have access to the same system that I do. Everybody has access to the exact same situation. And if you legitimately feel like, oh my God, this is unfair, well, then you go and try and do it. All right, go and start yourself a first generation cattle farm. Buy 80 cattle a year, buy 160 cattle a year. And then see if you can even do 10%. All right, because that's what it took for me to do this, right? I mean, I legitimately, if you take a look at how many cattle I buy per year, maybe I end up buying somewhere around 100, 120 to 150. And that's, and if I use leverage and et cetera, right? I mean, I don't know exactly how many cattle I buy per year, but, if I buy 12, if I buy whatever, right, to 8 animals a month, how many animals do I buy? Right, 96. And that's how many animals I would buy if I legitimately used zero leverage and held on to cash. If I'm going to maximize the growth potential of my business while keeping my balance sheet at zero, then I would have to utilize leverage, right? I wouldn't have to, but technically, I don't know any other way, because if I have an unrealized gain and I would like to access that unrealized gain, and I talk about this all the time, even and let's not talk about it in terms of cattle. Let's talk about it in terms of stocks. If you had $1 million worth of stock and you took that $1 million worth of stock to the bank and you showed it to the banker and you said, I would like a line of credit and you can hold my stock as collateral, then you can technically access the money without liquidating your assets. And let's say you took a loan for 200 grand and you had $1 million worth of stock. If you have $1 million worth of stock and you've decided, well, reasonably, I can probably access half of it, 500,000, and I'm not really concerned about that, because I know, the possibility of this stock going down by $500,000, by 50% is borderline 0%. What is something like that? What is something like that reasonably, right? The S&P 500, and if it falls by 50%, you should not be worried. Oh my God, you should not panic. Go skipping off to the bank. Congratulations, the broader asset market has effectively been cut in half. Interest rates are probably borderline 0%. All right, if something like that happens, I will legitimately go to the bank and borrow money hand over fist. I will legitimately do it. Give me everything. All right, you should not be worried. The S&P 500 is effectively like a gauge for the overall entire U.S. economy. And the broader asset market is effectively counterbalanced by the bond market. So, but I'm not really I want to talk about personal finances today. So let's say we're not talking about cattle, and let's say we're talking about you have a stock portfolio. You have something else that is equitable, but it's not cattle, right? Let's talk about stocks. Let's say you have $1 million worth of the S&P 500. And you anticipate, you reasonably deduce that it's not going to fall by 50%. And in all honesty, it's probably even going to go up by 10% a year or something like that. Reasonably 10% a year is very reasonable. And so you take a look at it and you go to the bank and you talk to the banker about it. And the banker says, okay, we'll hold on to your stock as collateral and we'll give you a line of credit for $500,000. And we're going to charge you 8% interest for this loan. So you take a look at your situation and you say, well, I didn't have to liquidate anything, so I still have $1 million worth of the S&P 500. I anticipate that it's going to go up by $100,000 this year. And the $500,000 that I borrowed, if I use all of it, if I legitimately took that $500,000 and dug a hole in my backyard and piled that money into the ground and lit it on fire, it would cost me 40 grand a year. You see what I'm saying? You can access the money via a line of credit, collateralize your asset, come up with a reasonable idea of how much collateral, come up with a reasonable idea of how much you would like to collateralize. And then, and that's a very realistic case. If you have $1 million worth of the S&P 500 and you anticipate that whatever, it's going to, it probably will appreciate by about 10% a year. It's a gauge for the overall U.S. economy. Inflation is kind of bad and it's probably going to stay kind of bad. The P&E ratio was 25, and if you take a look at the overall economic situation, I mean, there was a massive amount of monetary, input, right? There was a lot of, I've already talked about the overall economy. I don't really want to talk about the overall economy today. I really want to focus on my personal finances. But you're taking a look at the situation, and and I've already gone over all this stuff already, right? I mean, you've taken a look at it. The amount of monetary input has far exceeded the amount of goods and services in the economy, the asset economy. Effectively, the assets in the economy have effectively been, the amount of monetary, the amount of money supply has drastically, been increased, relative to the asset supply. And so that's what's driving up effectively valuations and whatever. And you've taken a look at it, right? And so, now you're in this situation, and it's like, now if you go and you whatever, you take that $500,000 and you dig a hole in the ground and you shovel that $500,000 into a hole in the ground and you light it on fire, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't mean anything. Have fun. Have fun. It doesn't matter. Right? And that's a very realistic case of leveraging against your assets. Right? When I take a look at my asset, I take a look at the overall net appreciation value. Oh, my asset has been going up by whatever percentage. I take a look at that. I appraise the overall value of the asset, and then I take a loan against a portion of it. Then it doesn't really matter. And I take a look at the situation, and oh well, my assets will probably continue to appreciate for 4 or 5 months, and I anticipate that this is what the appreciation value is going to be. And I've taken a reasonable look at it, and I'm looking to take a loan for this much. Right? And in this situation, even if I took that loan and I legitimately dug a hole in my background, or if I legitimately dug a hole in my backyard and I shoveled that money into the hole and I lit it on fire, it wouldn't even matter. Right? Very, very, very simple. It's not complicated. If you have $1 million of an asset and it's going up by roughly 10% a year, and you go to the bank and you take a loan for $500,000, and the bank, and you hold that $1 million as collateral, you hold half of that $1 million as collateral of your equity asset as collateral, and you get a $500,000 credit line at 8% interest, your asset portfolio will appreciate by $100,000. But if you utilized all $500,000 today, it would only cost you $40,000. Very simple, right? This is not complicated stuff. Right? It's very simple. If you don't understand it, write it down and repeat it to yourself 50,000 times until you remember it. It is not difficult. And so I have an asset portfolio. It's producing me a cash flow, and it's appreciating in value. I've actually decided that I'm not going to use any leverage for 3 to 4 months. That's what I've decided that I feel like doing. Right? I'm not going to use any leverage for 3 to 4 months. Why? Because if I legitimately used leverage, I would need to purchase like 150 cattle within the next 3 months. That's why. All right, so I've decided that I'm not going to use any leverage. All right, that's my reasoning why. If I had a bigger piece of land, if I had a very large piece of land, when I get a very large piece of land, I would be willing to leverage. But I've decided that I'm not going to use any leverage. All right, and right now it's a very simple situation, right? It's very easy to see exactly how much money I make, more or less. It's very simple. How much money do I think I make? Probably about 18,000-20,000. Just this business, and then I also got 4,000 on a W. I probably make somewhere around $22,000-$25,000 a month. And how much am I going to pay myself? All right, I'll probably write myself a check for about $12,000. Why am I going to write myself a check for $12,000? Well, because with that $12,000, I can grow my business. I can buy whatever I need. All right, I can go and buy my 1.5 tons of urea. I can grow my business. I can pay for all of my bills. And this is what I've been saying. My income, I usually, because after about, let's talk about it in terms of a realistic sense. I make about let's just whatever, right? Let's take the low end of the estimate. I make about $22,000 a month. And even in this situation, and that is with zero leverage. When I use leverage, I actually make more money. And so I make about $22,000 a month with zero leverage. It's very easy to see exactly how much money I make. I don't owe the bank anything, no nothing. I'm not going to use any leverage for about 3 or 4 months. So let's take a look at the situation. I make 22 grand, but I only pay myself about, I really only pay myself about 15. And what do I do with the 7 grand? I just keep it in the business. It's whatever. Whatever. The net equity valuation of my herd is probably going to go up by about $7,000. It doesn't matter to me. At least I'm not holding on to cash, right? Because, okay, actually, let's talk about this whole idea too. Let's say instead of holding the $7,000 in my assets, let's say I took the $7,000 and I put it in my bank account, and I did that over the entire year, and I just held on to the cash. I didn't even reinvest it. I just held on to it. I would end up with about $84,000 cash, right? I would end up with about $84,000 cash. That $84,000 cash is going to be taxed the worst. I'm going to have to pay the most taxes on it. And in terms of the overall economic situation, I'm probably even going to lose a portion of it to inflation. I probably will. All right, so let's take a look at the situation as it is, for what it is, right? I've always said that money is not an opinion. All right, it is not an opinion. Nobody cares about your opinion. What are you going to do with your opinion? You're going to sue me? Right? What are you going to do with your opinion? You're going to go to the bank? Opinions don't mean anything. Money is a set number. It's not debatable. It just is what it is. All right, and if you're going to be an idiot, I don't know what else. Go and die poor by yourself. I hope you turn yourself around. I legitimately, I would, if you turned yourself around, I would be very happy for you, and I hope that you do better for yourself. But if die poor by yourself. All right. If not, then die poor by yourself. Okay. I don't know how else to tell you. Money is not a debatable thing. When I take a look at the situation, I probably do. This farm right here, this cattle farm, probably makes about somewhere between, I've always said $15,000 to $20,000 a month. It makes about $15,000 to $20,000 a month. That's about how much I make on just this cattle field. On just this cattle business, I make about 15, 20 grand a month. And I'll probably end up paying myself about 12 grand. That leaves money in the business. The equitable evaluation of my business is probably higher than it was last month, and et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I have 15 grand, if I have 12 grand, I can do whatever it is that I need to do. I can go and buy fertilizer. I can grow my business. I can pay for all of my bills. I don't have any concerns about money at all. I can pay for anything. I can already buy it. It doesn't matter to me. There's no reason for me to have more. If I legitimately felt like there was a reason to have more cash, I would just pay myself more. Very easy, right? I would just pay myself more. It's not complicated. All right, I would increase the number of cattle that I'm running. I would take a look at the balance sheet, right? I would take a look at the balance sheet. I would come up with a reasonable idea, and then I would just increase the amount of money that I'm making, right? I would just pay myself more. But even as of right now, I don't even think about, oh my God, money. I don't even think about money. Money is so negligible to me, it doesn't matter. It legitimately does not matter. Our money is legitimately zero concern to me. It does not matter to me. If I legitimately felt like I needed more money, I wouldn't go and sell my soul to the devil to do it. Oh my God, maybe I can come up with some pathetic scheme. Maybe I could come up with some worthless idea, and if it works out for me in a magical fashion, then I can go skipping off to Disneyland with some extra $2,000. I don't think like that. All right, if I legitimately felt like I needed more money, I would just run more cattle. Very simple, right? I would go looking for a deal. I would find the right deal. I would go and find a good deal, and I would take the good deal, and I would just run more cattle. Now I have more money. I can do whatever it is I felt like I needed more money for. Very, very simple, right? I don't go on these ridiculous adventures. Oh my God, ridiculous journeys, right? My life is a Disneyland adventure, and I fell out of heaven a 7, and I don't do stuff like that. If I legitimately felt like I needed more money, which I don't think about, I already have plenty of money. I legitimately have enough money to do anything already. 99% of anything on the entire planet can be done with $15,000 a month. I talk about this all the time. I'm legitimately going to grow my business, pay for all of my bills. I will still have, a couple $1,000s left over. I'm actually increasing the amount of money that I make. I pay for all of my bills. I'm not worried about anything. All right, and I've decided, and I've actually decided, that I'm all, I honestly, this business probably makes closer to 18-20,000, and I'll write myself a check for about 12 grand. So that leaves money. That still leaves money in the business. Almost half of the money that I make, I can't even spend. All right, that's what it looks like to have $15,000 a month. I grew my business. I paid for all of my bills. All right, I'm not worried about anything. The amount of and it's just kind of like a byproduct. I mean, the amount of money that I'm making is actually going up as well. All right, and that's what it looks like. I would actually anticipate that my income goes up by about 10% a month, compounding. All right, like this month I made let's say this month I made 20 grand. Next month I'm probably gonna make 22 grand. The month after that, I'm probably going to make 25 grand. The month after that, I'm probably going to make 27.5 grand. All right, why does that happen? Because, at the end of the day, my business is growing, right? I talk about this all the time. You really want to be in a situation where if you're going to run a business, you want to be in a situation, you're looking to be in a situation where you are growing the business. That's very important. And how do you know that your business is growing? You take a look at the money, okay? It's not difficult. Did you make more money this month than last month? Did you? Yes or no? Are you going to make more money next month than you did this month? Probably. Then your business is growing. Do you have a reasonable idea for how to do it? Yes, then that's good. You're probably growing your business. It's very simple. It's not some complicated thing. It's not up for debate. Nobody cares about an opinion. All right, do you have a reasonable idea for how you're going to grow the business? Yes. Has your business been growing over the last several months? Yes. How do you know this? Well, I just take a look at the money. Money is not an opinion. All right, it's not an opinion. And so I take a look at the situation, and but that's my personal finance situation, right? I mean, if we just take a look at it, I mean, this business probably makes me I'll probably make I probably will do something about 20 grand. I'll probably do about 20 grand, and the amount of money that I'm making is actually going to go up. Why do I anticipate that the amount of money that I'm going to make is going to go up? Because I'm reinvesting my earnings and expanding my balance sheet, right? I'm actually making my business, more profitable. I found myself a lease property, et cetera, right? I mean, very simple stuff. This is not complicated. But that's a very realistic look at it. I would say that I probably, this business probably makes whatever, right? This business makes 18-20 grand, and I'll probably write myself a check for about 12 grand. All right, and with that 12 grand, what am I going to do with it? Well, I'm going to grow the business. I need to purchase about 1.5 tons of urea. All right, it gives me a couple $1,000s left over, a few $1,000s left over. I didn't pull every last dollar out of my business, right? I mean, I'm actually growing the amount of money still left in my business, right? But at the end of the day, why would I do that? Because if I pulled the cash out of my business and I just sat here with the cash, number one, I talk about this all the time, the cash is not going to do anything. And it's all the same thing. The cash is not going to do anything. And, it doesn't matter, land, cattle, whatever. It's all the same thing. All right, it's all the same thing. As long as you have a reasonable idea for an appraisal, right? You have a logical, reasonable idea for appraising the asset. It's all the same thing. Even businesses, it's all the same thing. All right, if you go and you buy a business and you take a multiple of the earnings and then you grow the business, the equity valuation of the business will have increased. That's how you logically appraise a business. It's all the same thing. It is all the same thing. All right, so you take a look at the situation, and I took a look at my situation, and it's like I understand that I probably this business will probably make about 20 grand. It will probably make about 18, 20 grand, but I don't need to pay myself more than 12 grand. And if I paid myself more than 12 grand, it would actually be a negative on my financials. The extra cash on my balance sheet would not benefit me. It would actually be a negative for me to hold on to more cash. It would actually be a negative. I would rather reinvest the money. That's actually the most realistic way for me to put it. If I, I've just, the business probably does make 20 grand, 18, 20 grand. But out of that 18, 20 grand, if I pulled more than 12,000 out of the business, it would actually negatively affect my financials. The extra cash would actually negatively affect me. That's why I don't do it. All right, and when you have assets and those assets appreciate, you legit, and it's not just me, it's everybody has access to the exact same situation. If you legitimately felt like you wanted to do this, you could go and do this too. It's nobody stopping you. All right, if you buy assets and you have a reasonable idea for the appreciation of the asset, let's say you bought a business and you made the business do better, and you fundamentally understood that when you did this, that the equitable evaluation of the business would go up. Right? You have this equitable asset. You don't pay any taxes at all, zero, nothing. Social Security, nothing. Income tax, nothing. You don't pay anything. If you are holding on to appreciating assets, you don't pay anything. You legitimately pay nothing. You don't like it, then sue me. All right, legitimately zero. No income tax, no Social Security tax, no nothing. Your assets are appreciating, and that is called an unrealized gain. You don't pay anything. All right, that's the whole big idea. And then you can grow your wealth tax-free, completely tax-free, not just income tax-free, all taxes, no Social Security, no income tax, no nothing. All right, that's what happens when you hold on to assets. And when you have a large stockpile of assets, you can effectively collateralize against them. And if you use reasonable estimates, it doesn't even matter. I mean, have fun. You can shovel $500,000 into a hole and light it on fire. It's not just me. I talk about this all. In my situation, I could even probably shovel $1 million into a hole right now and light it on fire, and it wouldn't even do anything. It probably wouldn't. Well, I'm not going to say probably. It legitimately wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't matter to me, and it's not just me, and the whole stock market thing that I was talking about earlier, that's a very realistic way to look at it. Once you have accumulated enough assets and you have a reasonable idea for the appreciation of the assets, if you go and you collateralize your asset for a line of credit within a reasonable margin, and you take a look at the expenses for that line of credit, and then you take a look at the appreciation value for your overall asset portfolio, you can take that line of credit, dig a hole in your backyard, shovel the money into the hole and light it on fire, and it wouldn't even do anything. All right, that's and the whole idea is that when you do this and you're growing your money like this, it's not just me. Anyone can do this. It's not just me. And a majority of rich people do it this way. They hold on to good assets, because when you hold on to good assets, if those assets appreciate, when those assets appreciate, you should have an idea for knowledgeably appreciating those assets. You don't pay any taxes on them at all. Zero, none. Legitimately zero. No Social Security tax, no income tax, no nothing. But on the other end of the whole thing, you have to understand that this is not easy. All right, if you legitimately, okay, and this is actually a very, very realistic way to look at it. If you wanted to go, because let's just say that my farm, let's just take a reasonable estimate for my farm, and this farm will probably make about $250,000 over the next 365 days. And that would be if I legitimately just kept everything running sideways. I did not reinvest my earnings. I legitimately had zero growth plans. If I legitimately had zero plans for growing my business, and I legitimately just ran the business as it is, just the exact same for the entire year, I will probably make about $250,000. That, that $250,000, only, maybe about 1/3 of it is going to be, maybe even only about half of it, something like that, is going to be a realized gain. Maybe about half of it. The rest of it is going to be just money that I have stored in my assets. And the reason that I did that was because if the money is stored in the assets and the assets are going up in value, it's all the same thing, and I don't have to pay any taxes on it. You don't like it, then you can sue me. And, you know, if you want to be in the situation, you know, go have fun. You know, have fun. All right, and, you know, you can do this too if you felt like it. Go and buy yourself 100 cattle a year. All right, if you bought yourself 100 cattle a year and you start yourself a first generation farm and you start yourself an LLC and you take, you take good care of the animals, and, you know, then you have access to the exact same opportunity as me. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, you have to understand this is not simple. You know, I may be one of more, it may not even be 3 people on the entire planet that can do something like this. All right, and you have to understand that this was not easier for me. This was borderline impossible for me too. It was very difficult. I don't know how else to put that. I legitimately put everything I had on the line to do this. And, you know, and it's like, you know, it's like on the 15th year, on the 14th year, on the 13th year, whatever it may have been, 12th year, I finally made it. And it's like, you know, it's not fair. Well, then die poor by yourself. Money's not an opinion. Trust me, I don't care. I'm the one with the money. I'm the one who knows how to make the money. I'm the one who actually has the money. You don't like it, you can sue me. All right, you know, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, and, you know, it's like, you know, and it's like, you know, for the love of God, like, you know, if you're legitimately gonna, you know, whatever, take time and what, you know, and you know, you're looking to do better for yourself, and you're gonna take time to, you know, learn how to do something, you know, at least please, you know, put in the most effort that you can. Would it make sense for me, you know, do you think I'm losing money? Are you dumb? Like, you know, legitimately take a look at it. What is the business plan? What is the whole big idea? I bring in these animals at about 200 pounds and I liquidate them at 650. It takes me about 5-6 months to do that. Do you think I make money? I grow grass. I tell you exactly how much, you know, fertilizer I use, why I use that amount of fertilizer, how much it costs me, everything. Do you think I'm losing money? You know, if you legitimately think I'm losing money, you are going the wrong way completely. I am legitimately net positive about $18,000 to $20,000 a month as of today. Now, how do you get so backwards? I don't understand. All right, please at least attempt to try. All right, take a look at it. You know, if I liquidate, you know, in terms of the business plan, I would liquidate animals at 650. How many animals am I going to liquidate this month then? How many animals am I going to liquidate in March? If I'm going to liquidate at 650, if I take a reasonable estimate for it, probably about 7. If I liquidate 7 animals and I have 32 animals, how many animals does that leave me with? 25. The average weight of those 25 animals reasonably is what? Probably about 400. Those 25 animals went up in weight by about 90 pounds, right? I would estimate about 90 pounds over the month. What do you think that the appreciation value of that amount is? 25 animals at 400 pounds going up by 90 pounds a month. How much do you reasonably anticipate that evaluation is? Right? I mean, you know, at least attempt to try, please, for the love of God. All right, you know, nobody cares about your opinions. You're gonna die poor. You know, unless, you know, turn yourself around. You know, I don't know how else to. You know, it is what money is not an opinion. All right, you know, this business, and here's the thing. It's like, if you think that, you know, like, you know, I probably make about $18,000-$20,000 a month right now on just this business. That amount of money is actually going to go up pretty drastically, and it's been going up pretty drastically for the last couple of, maybe the last month or two. I've actually passed the point of inflection. When I take a look at the data, the amount of money that I'm making is actually going up on a vertical scale. I would actually say something like compounding 10% every single month. Compounding. If I made $20,000 this month, next month I will probably make $22,000. The next month I will probably make $24,200. The next month I will probably make 26,000 whatever, 26,500. What, you know, the amount of money that I'm actually making is actually compounding upwards, and I'm not even using any leverage. When I use leverage, I will actually increase my money, the amount of money that I make, pretty drastically. And why am I not using leverage? Because if I used leverage right now, I would legitimately have to purchase like 150 cattle just to keep myself at zero over the next 3 months. I wouldn't even be in the negative. That's why I'm not using leverage. Am I going to be using leverage? Yes, I will probably be using leverage. How am I going to utilize leverage? Well, I will more than, I will leverage my balance sheet 1-for-1. At the end of the year, why am I going to do that? Because if I have the money, if I simply just hold on to cash, then I will get taxed the maximum amount. So I might as well just risk it for the biscuit. I might as well. If I'm going to lose the money guaranteed no matter what to income tax, right, about 35% of the money is going to be lost no matter what as income tax, as federal income tax, then I might as well just risk it and buy the cattle. Right? Because if I buy the cattle and I take my income to effectively zero via tax deductions, legal tax deductions, I'm not talking about tax evasion, I'm talking about legal tax deductions. And if you don't like how the system is made, sue me. I don't know what you want me to say. It's not illegal. You can do this too if you felt like it. Go and buy yourself 100 cattle tomorrow. Call an accountant. Tell them that you started an LLC and that you bought 100 cattle and it cost you a certain amount of money. Hang up the phone and then, and then congratulations. Now you don't owe any federal income tax either. Granted that you made less than whatever, $150,000 a year. All right, you can do it too. Nobody's stopping you. All right, nobody's stopping you. Have fun. Everybody has access to the exact same system that I do. Granted that you're an American citizen. All right, I'm not the only one that can do this. Technically, we all have access to the exact same system. Okay, I don't know how else to put that. You don't like it, sue me. All right, I probably will, and the amount of money that I'm making is actually going up drastically every single month. And when I take leverage, it's going to be a even drastic jump higher. All right, because, I take leverage because if I don't use leverage, then I'm guaranteed to lose the money anyway via federal income tax. I managed to make myself about $20,000 a month on a 10.5 acre field. All right, running commercial cattle. I don't know anybody else. I don't even know anybody that can even do 10%. Money is not an opinion. All right, it just is what it is, right? It's not like some debatable thing, okay? Money is not an opinion. Nobody cares about your opinions. At the end of the day, I'm the one with the money. I'm the one who knows how to make the money. I'm the one who actually makes the money. And if it comes down to it, I will legitimately just leave everybody for dead and just be rich by myself. All right, am I looking to take people, in the right direction? Yes, absolutely, I am looking to take people in the right direction. If you're born with average IQ, you can learn how to do 90% of this, which is 98% of the population. All right, none of this stuff is so difficult that you can't learn how to do it. All right, and at the end of the day, nobody did this for me, and I still made it. All right, and it took me a long time, and I legitimately worked 7 days a week. And so it just is what it is. And that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.